Hello and welcome, social media practitioners. This is David with Daniel, also known as Trynone, here to talk about best practices in the post 2.0 web. We are currently live on Ustream, YouNow, StreamUp, Periscope, Meerkat, and Rabbit. That's right, we are live on 7 live streaming services as we speak, all at the same time. Before I get into the material of today's show, which I am very excited to do, by the way, I have 2 items of feedback to go over first. The first one is Vanessa Guzman, aka Vanessa, on Twitter. She says, just listened to this podcast. Really enjoyed it. Keep them coming. Vanessa, thank you for listening. Maybe you consider going to beyondtweeting.com/iTunes and giving me a 5-star review. I've noticed that you've already subscribed to Beyond Tweeting via email, so that means you're already in the pipeline for cool stuff. So thank you for subscribing. If you want to get cool stuff, listeners, like how I talked and tweeted my way to my first dream job, which is a PDF you can download, you can sign up at beyondtweeting.com/email, put in your email address, and you will receive a link to download the PDF immediately. Basically, it's a story about how I use the internet to meet people and get my job with Microsoft. So check it out. One last piece of feedback, and that's I received a letter. No, not an email, an actual handwritten letter from Jan Kimball, who happens to be my aunt. Aunt Jan has this tendency to send me cards with monkeys on them for holidays and birthdays and special occasions, and there is a story behind that. But needless to say, this card had a monkey on it with a mouth agape, and the caption, #no freaking way. And I had no idea why I would have gotten this, so I opened it, and it says, congratulations. That's so exciting about your book. Way to go, nephew. And I think what I'll do is I'll post a picture of it because it's a pretty awesome card. I have a supportive family. You know, my grandma, now my aunt. What's it going to be next? Thank you so much, Aunt Jan. I really appreciate it. It was a very big surprise. So, now we're on to today's topic. Today's topic is social media and gaming. That involves playing, streaming, speedrunning, and lots of other things. Sometimes all those 3 things put together. But before we get into that, I'd like to introduce our guest, whose voice you might recognize from the first episode of this podcast. Daniel, how's it going, man?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Happy to have you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you've been up to lately.
Well, I am a person who enjoys games. I enjoy gaming. I enjoy much of the live streaming culture on Twitch, and all the, it's kind of a social site where people can live stream games, live stream them playing games, whether it's casual or competitive gaming. And it's something that I've been enjoying for years, whether it's watching people play casually or competitively, and also streaming myself doing games casually and competitively. So, yeah.
Awesome. So when you say Twitch is a streaming website, kind of unpack that a little bit, because I think there are some listeners that aren't entirely familiar with streaming, even though we do it on this podcast every single time we record. You might want to sort of explain what do you mean by streaming, like games?
Well, like I guess it's a good way to break it down.
It starts with a game, right? Because
yeah, starts with a game. That's a good start. Basically, it's someone playing a game and broadcasting it online for everyone to see, for people to join, for people to watch, and that's really all it is. Basically, it's just someone playing a game and broadcasting it on the internet on this site called Twitch TV, and yeah, they can. It can just be the game. It can be them talking about the game. It can be them talking while playing the game. Or they can have a webcam like we're doing now that people on YouTube can see, and see us talking and interacting with the game and other people in the chat as well.
Exactly. That is what it is. And some people might ask, like, well, why would I sit there and watch someone play a game? Well, it's really more than that. Like think about someone, maybe a friend of yours playing a game, and then you sit down next to them and talk to them like, wow, this is really cool. Like you just did something really impressive, or how's your day going? It's a lot more interactive and it's a lot more about the person playing the game than just watching someone play a game. But of course, there's lots of aspects to it. There's competitive gaming, there's speed running, and we're going to go into those things in just a second. But there's not just Twitch, right? Aren't there some other websites as well that do something similar?
Yeah. Another one that comes to mind is Hitbox TV. And that's actually a pretty good site for streaming. It's not the popular one right now. Twitch definitely has an upper hand and is a lot more commonly used. You see a lot of people streaming on Twitch every day, whereas Hitbox is not as populated. The thing about Hitbox, though, that's quite interesting is you can get some really good quality streaming on Hitbox. If you're the actual streamer, the one actually doing the games and streaming the gameplay, you might choose Hitbox if you want. Sometimes, well, I think Hitbox had 60 FPS and more available before Twitch. I'm not quite sure, but the other thing is that the delay between the chat and the streamer there's almost no delay. It's almost instantaneous. Like if I was to type something in to our Google chat room right now, you would see it right away. And Hitbox is the same way. As soon as you type something in, the streamer can see it, react to it, talk to you about it, about what you typed. Twitch is a little different. There's more of a delay, and we can talk more about that later as well. So
Yeah, exactly. And as an example, I'm broadcasting on YouTube / Google Plus, Hangouts, whatever you want to call it now. But if I were to open up like a laptop and then go to this video, I'd probably see 5, 7, 8 seconds into the past, which is actually a very creepy experience when you first get into it, because you're seeing life unfold live 7 seconds in the past. It's very interesting.
Mhm.
And that happens when you stream on Twitch. So again, I'm going to unpack this a little bit because it's a little bit nuanced of a concept. Imagine, let's break it down and say you're a PC gamer. So what you can do is, like I'm sharing this webcam with you right now, I can put that in a little box. I can put a video of myself with my picture and what I'm doing in the right corner of the screen, and then have the majority of the screen dedicated to what I'm viewing on my computer, the computer game that I'm playing. And then I'll have another section on the screen for my brand, and this is my name, or this is how you can get a hold of me. So people are very creative when they create these overlays, what they're called, where they section off parts of the screen dedicated for them, for the webcam, and then for the game. And then, of course, you have to mix the volume so that the game volume doesn't overpower your voice when you record your voice over it. And so it's actually pretty complicated. But once you get into it and once you initially sort of set it up, it can be very rewarding to have a conversation like you and I are having right now.
Yeah. Yep.
Anybody from anywhere in the world that loves the game you're playing or wants to have that experience with you.
Yeah. One thing I would say is it's amazing. Just even like if you're going to the whole history of it, how far Twitch has come as a site, and from Justin TV and everything. We can go more into that later, and how big this is streaming games and how much traffic Twitch gets as a site for each views every week, every month, and is insane. I think it was ranked number 4 in the most visited site on the web not too long ago.
Wow.
And, yeah, it maintains that rank as well. So every day there's just thousands and thousands of people coming to visit the site.
That's amazing. And so what's funny is people I've talked to aren't always familiar with Twitch or don't always know what it is. But you're right, it's getting lots of traffic. And depending on how big the stream is, I mean, sometimes millions of viewers, or like, it's insane. And then maybe if you can't understand the whole I'm just a guy playing a game, watch it, maybe
it is a very foreign concept. It is a very, very foreign concept.
Maybe for people that watch sports, we can compare it to, well, you get together with buddies and you watch professional sports players do a sport. Why? Well, a few reasons. One, they're really good at the sport, so you want to watch them. competition. You want to hang out with your friends. There's a lot of reasons you want to do it. Imagine that in the gaming world. So let's say I'm going to use Super Smash Brothers as an example because I've been itching to talk about it. Some of you might be familiar with the game Super Smash Brothers. In fact, Pat Cashman, who is the voice introduction for this show, the male introduction for the show, was the voice narrator for a Super Smash Brothers game. So that's a cool little connection right there. Anyway, it's a game with Nintendo characters, and it was intended to be a party game. Well, people came together, and first off, enthusiasts of the game that really enjoyed playing it, and they began to look into ways of being really good at the game and being better than their friends and beating their friends. And so this competitive community sort of arose out of that. And what we're seeing now, especially with Twitch and what Daniel was just talking about, is you have a giant audience that want to see the very best and the very most advanced Super Smash Brothers players go head to head. And esports is becoming more of a used term recently, and it's often compared to actual what people would consider actual sports. And hopefully, I'm not a huge traditional sports fan myself. I would love to see esports become just as credible and just as widespread of a phenomenon as traditional sports. So esports and sports should just become synonymous. I don't know. That's what I think. What do you think, Daniel?
Oh my gosh. That is a touchy subject. Personally, I don't have too much of an opinion on this. I really enjoy just watching and the players, and I'm really glad that people can make a living off this. That just amazes me. That's incredible that someone in this day and age, and it happens so fast too, that people can make a living off of competitive gaming. That's a whole new thing that our generation is experiencing, and just the scale that these games are played on by just all the amounts of people, the coverage that it gets in the media, and how many people are watching online is insane. Where you can have a stream of League of Legends or whatever, and over 100,000 people can be watching, or hundreds of thousands of people can be watching, all just on this one page. And to me, I guess I'd say I'm glad that this is a thing. This is something I'm support. I'm interested in. Obviously, I like games, so I would not want either sport to replace each other, whether it's esports or physical sports. I would never say like one over the other. Only football and soccer or baseball. That's the only sports we need, and basketball. But or only League of Legends. That's the only esports we need. So I'm for both, and but I'm always going to be supporting of this esports uprising, I guess you'd call it, and the community and the games that are being played. And yeah, it's something I'm very excited about.
Right. Now I guess, and I share that excitement with you a lot, but I guess what about a video game? Let's take it to its most basic level for a second. What is it about a video game that would make you so excited? What is it?
Oh, well, there is a lot of practice put into these games, an insane amount of practice and years of studying a game, of learning a game. It's amazing how much ones and zeros, just a bunch of ones and zeros, can turn into just this experience where there's a whole stadium filled with people who paid a lot of money and flew to watch these people play games. And so let's see, what gets me excited. It's amazing, again, just how much time and money is spent into these games, that there's these teams that come over from all over the world to play them. And in turn, I guess that makes me want to be better at the games I play and the games I compete in. And sorry, I'm kind of drawing a blank here, but
That's okay. Your process, because here's the thing. Sometimes people like you and me get really involved in something. And sometimes it's hard to take a step back and say, okay, what is it about this experience, or what is it about this that I really do enjoy? Because because you just get so into it.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think, probably the biggest thing for me is, I play, like you said, you mentioned Smash Bros. That's probably one of the main ones that I'm into now is Super Smash Bros. Melee. And, you know, I think the greatest times I've had playing that game is, the community, the people that you get to meet, the people that you get to learn from, that you get better at the game with, and you get to play with. And it's amazing that there is this entire community for this game created, over 10 years ago. That there's all these people who play this game and watch this game and are interested in it. And it's something very special to have a community that supports your game, a whole um, bunch of people that you get to play the game with and share experiences with it, whether you're in California or Texas or Washington, it doesn't matter. So, yeah.
that's exactly right. And I think you touched on something important is it's an experience you share together. And I would argue video games offer one of the most captivating experiences of most forms of entertainment that there are. With a movie, you have camera work and you have portrayal of characters through actors and acting, and you have musical scores to back up and make certain emotions come out, and you have all these carefully calculated, sewn together things to make the movie the masterpiece that it is. With a video game, depending on what kind of video game that it is, it's like not only do you have characters, not only do you have a musical score to back up the game and give it the feel you want, but you have mechanics. Like what's the gravity going to be like in this game? How's the combat system going to work in this game? How are you going to communicate with the other characters? How are you going to move around? So you have so much more of a depth of other things you have to consider. And it goes beyond, well, this is a cool song, let's put it in the game. It's like these players are going to hear this song on repeat hundreds, literally hundreds, sometimes thousands or hundreds of thousands of times while they play this game. We need to pick a song that's not annoyingly repetitive. We got to pick one that gets them excited about the game. So there's so much thought. There's so much consideration to make gaming an experience people want to have. And if it's a good experience, like anything else, you're going to have a group of people that are excited about it. And gaming does that just like movies do, just like books do, just like music does, and other forms of entertainment, or even sports, same sort of thing that you were touching on earlier. And so I think people often mischaracterize video games as a time waster, or it can be. With every innovation comes a new abuse. So people are kind of forgetting about how much of a time waster TV is. Or I mean, I'm sure when reading became a big deal, I'm sure there are people saying, why are you wasting your time reading a book? Go out there and farm the land. Like with every form of entertainment, there's always been this sort of push against it. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, that's a very good point.
All right, I'm going to scroll down here on some of the notes. So what is the main content featured in these streaming websites like Twitch TV? What are the games primarily streamed?
Well, on Twitch, it can vary every day. It can vary who's streaming that day, what channels are live. Just like, on the television, your favorite program might not be on. So it depends what's on, who's streaming, what's live. I would say some of the more popular channels, the more popular programs would be, let's see, some channels, they stream a very popular game now called League of Legends, as I mentioned earlier. That's kind of a multiplayer, arena combat game. Dota 2 is another one, very much like of League of Legends. It definitely has its differences too. I won't go too far into that, but World of Warcraft was kind of popular. Also, Warcraft, Heart of the Swarm, stuff like that. Also, kind of this battle arena type game and strategies. You've got your first player shooters like CS:GO, Counter-Strike, Global Offensive, more Twitch gameplay, first-person shooters, which the site is actually named after. Kind of these fast shooter Twitch gameplay types.
Okay, I didn't know that actually.
Yeah, that's what they named it when they created the site after it split off from Justin TV. Also, you've got fighting games like Marvel vs. Capcom, Tekken, Mortal Kombat, Persona 4 Arena, Street Fighter, and of course Smash Bros. There's also the speedrunning community, which is a huge part of Twitch as well. They put on big marathons once in a while. Sometimes in January, they have Awesome Games Done Quick, which is a kind of a big fundraiser for Doctors Without Borders. They also do Summer Games Done Quick as well. And then you also got your kind of internet celebrities that play casually sometimes, and people just tune in to watch their first favorite person play a game. And sometimes you see YouTubers play on Twitch as well, and they bring quite a big crowd with them. So yeah.
Yeah, so you've got two sort of camps of people. There are the YouTube or internet phenomenons that have already built up their platform, or already have some sort of a following, and then they go on Twitch and they play a game, and the people like that person, so they want to join in that experience. And then you also talked briefly about speedrunning and games done quick. Why don't you explain to the listeners a little bit about what speedrunning is? What is speedrunning?
Let's see, speedrunning. Oh man. I guess in short, speedrunning is beating a game as fast as possible, trying to challenge yourself in completing the game or a certain set of objectives as fast as you can. So whether that's
Super Mario Brothers, for example, because I think lots of people will be familiar with that game. So does beating the game as fast as possible mean killing every enemy, getting every coin, and getting to the end as quickly as you can without stopping, or like what does it look like?
Well, I guess what the main objective would be is to beat the game as fast as possible. You don't have to defeat all the enemies. You just go and jump. And but there's also certain categories. See, because Super Mario Bros, you can take these things called warps that will warp you to another world or get you further into the game just by taking a secret entrance, a secret door, a secret pipe. And so two big categories for Super Mario Bros. Is to beat the game as quick as possible, whether that's using warps or glitches or anything. Another category would to beat the game without warps. That means playing each level individually, going through the entire game, and then beating the final boss, which is Bowser. So yeah.
Right. And to be clear, speedrunning is not something the game that was ever set up from the game creators, or it was ever intended for the game. It's a post-experience sort of subjective rule set. So fans of the game came together. It became something competitive. We said, you know what? Wow, like what Daniel just said, there's this secret warp pipe that takes you to this world. That's cool. And then they talk about that. And then it becomes a competition of, well, how quickly can you get to the end of the game? And then they either start exploiting the mechanics of the game to get through as quickly as possible, or they have another rule set, which is, well, that's some people would say, well, that's kind of a cheap way to get through the game. I want to beat the game traditionally. 1 second. And so some people would look at that and say, well, I want to beat the game as quickly as possible and go through each level. So communities come together and define speedrunning for themselves and how they want it to look. So yeah, I just wanted to explain that really quickly.
Yeah, and that's not to say that some people create other categories, whether, like you're saying, like who stomped on the most Goombas or who got the most coins or the most points. There's records kept for those stuff, that stuff as well. But generally, you'll just see who beat the game the fastest, or who got through the game without using glitches or warps or whatever. So yeah.
You said the records are kept. Where are these records kept?
Well, on SDA forums, Speed Demos Archive, you'll find a lot of records there for a great library of games. You see a lot of Nintendo games, especially on world records, on just about whatever you can find for whatever game you want to see. Who beat this game the fastest? Who beat this game the second fastest? So there's a lot of different categories on there, and you can look up on there and you generally find what you're looking for.
Now, what's the website again?
SDA, that's Speed Demos Archive.
So SDA.
Oh, here, let me type it in. Just speeddemosarchive.com. Yep.
Okay, speeddemosarchive.com, and that's where you can get a sort of holistic list and directory of various speedrunning category records. Okay,
Hmm.
cool. So now talk about games done quick. You mentioned that they have these sort of marathon type events where they'll have different speedrunners come in and beat a game in front of everyone, then have someone else. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah. I don't know if anybody here has seen that, but a lot of times people type in Twitter, hashtag AGDQ when it's running, and it gets to be a pretty big thing with over 100,000 people, sometimes 150,000 to 200,000 people watching when it's live. But it's this really cool um, speed running marathon where it goes on 24 hours a day for however long the marathon lasts. Sometimes it's over a week, and they'll just run all sorts of games, and people from around the world will fly into this one place, and for however long the marathon goes, they'll just have speedrunners playing their game and beating it as fast as possible. And as soon as they beat their game, someone else will come on and beat a game as fast as possible. So you just have these, I guess you could say, kind of star players all around the world come in and speed run their game. Um, and generally, when they do these marathons, they have a fundraising goal or something in mind. Usually, they do a fundraising marathon for Doctors Without Borders or some sort of um, uh, company or some sort of benefit to reach third world countries or something. So
That's awesome. And
yeah.
that's really cool that they have really come together with, you know, to raise money for breast cancer and all that. That was something the Smash community did, which was really cool. And I've been very encouraged by some of the causes that these gamers have rallied around, and it's very impressive. And when people watch speedrunners, there's two sort of types of reactions people will have. Let's say as a kid you played Sonic 2 on Sega Genesis. You loved that game and it took you years, but you finally beat it. It's a little sickening, isn't quite the right word. What's the word? It's a little upsetting. There you go.
There
A
you
little
go.
to watch a speedrunner play the game that took you years to beat and beat it in 10 minutes right in front of you. But there's another kind of reaction, which is often what happens to me, which is just sheer awe. And like, maybe you weren't even serious about games. Maybe you just, for example, maybe you got to play Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time for a few hours one day at a friend's house, and you remember how fun it was to ride a horse around in a field and defeat enemies with a sword. And if you watch someone speed run it, it's like they're beyond all that. They're figuring out ways to like trick the game into like getting them triple speed across the land, and then they're jumping into a wall to pass through it to enter a zone they're not supposed to get to yet. And it takes, not only does it take lots of planning beforehand and then lots of practice, but it takes, and hand-eye coordination obviously, but it takes lots of precise timing and concentration and making sure everything falls into place at the right time. Because sometimes if people get something wrong, they have to start over from the beginning. And sometimes games can last hours, sometimes, depending on what kind of speed run it is. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication. But when you watch someone speed run a game, it is one of the most fun things to watch as far as gaming goes.
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes during a marathon where things happen so quickly and they're trying to stick to a schedule, sometimes certain speed runs will come right down to the wire where it's whether it's a boss or something in a game where the player can get stuck in a situation and with all the people watching, they have to make a decision or try to survive or something to keep the run going, to keep the game going so they can finish it. And it's kind of funny to see what kind of situations play out during the marathon sometimes. So yeah.
Yeah, they'll have to like improvise sometimes because things don't go the way they expect.
Yep.
And again, it is a mix. Sometimes speedrunners are, not all speedrunners are people. Wait. Not all people.
People
So,
like,
so sometimes they'll be in a game, they'll be really intense, and if someone says something, they'll be like, "Shut up! I'm trying to play this."
yep.
And you can kind of understand, like, it's a lot of stress to do things at a certain time and get through things and all that. But then there's some speedrunners that are just so good at it. It's like
Mhm.
they're just it's like second nature to them, and they can have a conversation or talk about what they're doing, and those are always the more fun speedrunners to watch.
Yeah. If you've ever tuned into a GDQ for a very long amount of time, you'll notice the common phrase, hashtag that's never happened before. Well, somebody's running a game. There's always something bound to happen in the marathon where there's some sort of unpracticed or some sort of spontaneous event happening in the game where the runner doesn't know what's going on. And yeah, it's just kind of funny to watch these situations play out live. So yeah, it's always a good watch.
Yeah. And now let's say people, maybe some listeners do enjoy playing games. Maybe they're interested in going competitive and they're hearing about speedrunning, they're hearing about competitive Smash Brothers, for example, and they want to get into that. Or maybe they're just casual players and they said, you know what? This game, Banjo Kazooie, I love that game growing up, and I still have my Nintendo 64. I think it would be fun to play that game while talking to people that also love the game. If there are people like that listening, how can they get started with doing streaming?
Well, let's see. So I guess kind of like what you need to broadcast or to um, play a game on to stream it, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. So well, again, it depends. What kind of game you want to play. So if we're taking Banjo Kazooie, for example, that's a console game. So if you're looking to play it on the actual console, on the actual Nintendo 64, you're going to need some sort of game capture, some sort of capture card to capture the video so that you can get it to your computer and then stream it online for the world to see. So there's tons of capture cards available, which I'm sure you know some off the top of your head. There's like the Elgato, the Dazzle, the X Capture, and tons of things like that, which generally runs a little bit of money. But to capture, component or composite is what it's called. Video from a console, such as the Nintendo 64, the GameCube, you're looking at buying a capture card, basically. So
Exactly. That's an important point because if you wanted to share an experience like Banjo Kazooie with friends, it's not as simple as taking the auxiliary cords and plugging them into your computer because there's no ports for that. So what you have to do is exactly what Daniel said. You have to get some sort of device that you can connect to your Nintendo 64 that will translate into a connection on your computer. So what he said, they're called capture cards. So for example, I use one called the X Capture One, which is a very, very expensive one. But if you wanted to get one for less than I think less than $30 or something, you can get a Dazzle capture card. And what that will do is that will plug into your computer via USB, and then they have those three component or composite, I should say, composite ports. And you can take basically you need splitters and all that so you can see on your TV, whatever you're seeing on your TV is also being streamed to your computer. But after you have splitters and after you have the right cords, what you're basically doing is you're taking your console, you're plugging it into your TV, and you're plugging it into your computer. And so as you're playing the game, you can focus on the television set that you're playing on. Your computer, whether it's a laptop or a desktop, is seeing exactly what you're seeing on your television. So once you have the picture on your computer, is there a program that you might use to stream it? Like, how does that work?
yeah. So the two biggest programs are XSplit, and the next one would be OBS. And you can just type those in Google, you'll find them right away. And let's see. So, well, XSplit is basically able to receive whatever video feed you're inputting into it or to your computer from the game capture, from the capture card, and connect to a website like Hitbox or Twitch TV, and stream it live, just like we're doing now for your podcast is streaming. So it's with a game, and whereas the difference between XSplit and OBS though is that XSplit works pretty well. It's pretty user friendly. And another really cool thing about it is you can edit on the fly. So if you are playing a game and you want to switch to a different game or a different scene, you can edit it while you're live. You can edit a different scene, a different setup while you're already streaming. OBS, you can't do that in. However, with XSplit, you have to pay to get all the features for it. So it's not entirely free. So if you want higher quality video, you end up paying a subscription fee. Whereas with OBS, it's entirely free. There's nothing that I know of that you have to pay for. And you're able to have access to all the features, to all the, able to stream high quality video. But you also have to have a pretty hefty PC to do, 1080p or, high definition, 60 frames, stuff like that. But, and you can't edit on the fly necessarily with OBS. You can't switch to a different scene. That's another function that people have been requesting for quite a while, using that. But yeah, OBS and XSplit are the main ones that you'd use for streaming video. And you could add webcams and other stuff like that. So
Okay, so to recap, if you wanted to stream Banjo-Kazooie and you wanted to use your Nintendo 64, you need a television set for your game. You need the game itself, you need the game console and a game controller to play on, and then you need the cords to connect to a capture card so that what you're seeing on your television set also goes on your capture card. And then the capture card would go to your PC, which you would have nearby. And then to manage that video, you would get something like OBS or XSplit. And OBS stands for Open Broadcasting Software, by the way. And I personally, and I know Daniel has too, has been an OBS user for a long time. OBS is an amazing experience. It's not the most user-friendly thing in the world. Then again, trying to stream something isn't the most user-friendly activity to do. So for what it is, it's an amazing piece of software. And just as Daniel said, once you have OBS open and you're getting the screen that you're seeing on your television set of Banjo-Kazooie, you can then add your computer's webcam. You can add a microphone source like the microphone I have in front of me. And then what you can do is organize and sort of situate the items on the screen. So maybe, and think about Banjo-Kazooie. When you played that game initially, it wasn't widescreen. That was before widescreen was a thing. So it's 4:3 aspect ratio. So when you put that in OBS, there's actually all this extra room to put other things, like maybe your webcam or something else that you want to put, like a little, something like a piece of art or whatever you can think of to put on your stream. So once you've configured all your webcams, once you've configured all your mics, once you have your game running, at that point, it's about connecting OBS to a service like Twitch TV or Hitbox, plugging it in and streaming. So what do the final steps look like as far as that's concerned?
Well, final steps. So you have your game and you have your, like you said, your capture card, and it's going to your computer, and you have your program like OBS or whatever that streams it online. So I guess the final steps would be any, cosmetic changes you want to make to your stream. If you want to add a webcam, if you want to add a microphone, if you want to interact with your chat. Basically what you're doing is setting up kind of your stream to whether you want artwork or overlays or other things in it to make it more interactive, to make it more kind of feel at home to the chat, to the people who are watching. And then, there's other settings and other things that go along with that. What quality do you want your webcam to be? And so you can pick up a bunch of, other accessories, start looking at what kind of webcams are there, quality microphones, what microphone do I have available to me? How much money do I want to invest into this? And so there's a lot of other stuff to it too, but it's basically as complicated or as simple as you want it to be. You could just have your capture card and OBS and just stream it right to Twitch, and then that's all you need, really. So
yeah, that's right. That's a really good point. Some people, they want to share their gaming experience, but they don't want to spend money on a webcam. They don't want to spend money on a mic, and they don't necessarily want to be talking to their audience. They just want to share what they're doing, and that's okay too. And you can actually get some really, really cheap options that way. If you already have your game console, and also if you're a PC gamer, it's even cheaper. If you're a PC gamer, it's as simple as going into OBS and saying, I want to share this screen that I have already on my computer. Done. That's it. That's all you have to do. And then as long as you have a Twitch account or a Hitbox account you can connect OBS with, that is the only thing that's required. So baseline for playing Banjo-Kazooie would be one capture card, the game, a computer, and that you're connecting OBS or XSplit to Twitch TV or whatever service you're using. That is the bare minimum. Excuse me. And you can do that. But you can also, just as Daniel said, go into it as much as you'd like. Just for fun, I'll go over what I do, and then Daniel can go into what he does. So what I do is sometimes I play Super Smash Brothers, and I want to share that. So what I'll do in that case is I'll have a special CRT, which stands for cathode ray tube, which is basically the old big blocky TVs. I have that connected to a Nintendo Wii, and then I have certain cables going to my capture card, which is the X Capture one. I use a component connector, a D terminal to component. This is all going to be all techie talk for people that understand this. And then I use a 3.0 USB, plug it into my desktop computer, and then an OBS, I pick all that up, and then I use a C920 video camera for my webcam, and then I use the Blue Yeti microphone, which I'm using right now, to pick up my voice, and then I create my own overlay in Photoshop. And then once I create my own overlay, it has a little panel saying what the game is, has a little place for my webcam, has a place for the, that. I connect it to my Twitch account, and then I stream from there. And that takes a lot of preparation and takes a lot of hunting to get just the right ones that you want. But at the end of the day, it's something I'm very, very satisfied with, and I have a lot of fun streaming that I do. Daniel, what sort of setup do you have?
Well, I have similar kind of setup, but lately I've been playing a lot of PC games. So basically, all I need is OBS. That's all I use is OBS, really. And I've got my microphone I'm using now. I've got my webcam I'm using right now, and then I've got the game I'm playing on my computer. So with OBS, all I do is I just tell it, hey, I want you to pick up audio from my microphone. I want you to pick up video from my webcam, and I want you to pick up the screen capture of the game I'm playing on my computer. And then I stream that, and then I can add any fancy overlays or graphics I want to add to my stream to make it look nicer. And then that's all I need. I have, because I do play games like David was talking about, Smash Bros. Or like Banjo-Kazooie or whatever on older consoles. I have a CRT, a nice little small one I take around with me. And then I got my console and my controller and game and whatnot. And I've been using a friend's Dazzle, kind of experimenting with that, the cheaper game capture, and using that to stream, which has been working okay as well. I'm actually looking to get an X Capture one, which you've been talking about too. So those look pretty nice. But yeah, that's generally what I use. If anyone watching or listening out there has any questions about any of this stuff, you can always ask me or David as well. Also, a really good site to kind of learn more about streaming as well is streambig.net. There's this Super Mario RPG, and he also runs Paper Mario. He's the speedrunner who runs those two games. And I think his name is I Ate Your Pie. And he's put a pretty good site. It's pretty decent about just overall questions about streaming, and he's answered a lot of good questions on his site and written blogs about how to get started and what kind of equipment is out there as well. So
great. So streambig.com if you are interested.
.net.
.net?
Yep. .net.gov.
.net, all the dots.
Yeah, streambig.net.
Streambig.net. Great. Now, you speedrun some games casually, don't you, Daniel?
Yes. It just that's actually something I've been looking forward to this summer with my free time on the weekends and stuff. Is I've kind of put together a list of games that that I'm going to go through and learn. I have been learning Super Mario 64, which is a nice popular game that people play on the Nintendo 64. Just your regular platform 3D, kind of define the 3D platforming genre. And there's a lot of interesting movement in that game. It's amazing how fast some people beat that game. There's many fun glitches to do as well in that game. I think one of the guys who speedruns that game just insanely fast. It's I think his username is XIAH Zaya, or I don't know how you would pronounce it, But man, he beats that game super fast, just in a matter of minutes, and he starts up the game before you know it's over. So I'm not looking to get that serious with it, but I'm having fun speed running that game in the 16-star category is what they call it. Other
Yeah,
games. Oh yeah,
hold
go
on.
ahead.
I want to unpack that briefly. So the game Super Mario 64, it had a sort of minimum. Like basically, what you do in the game is you jump around on platforms, defeat enemies, and get collectible items. In this game, you got stars. What was the minimum you needed to get to Bowser?
Originally, the people who made the game, they wanted you to have, they programmed it so that you couldn't get to the final boss without 70 stars.
Okay, so
Yeah.
and you got stars by performing tasks like
Yeah.
racing someone or defeating an enemy or finding it in a secret location. And gaining 70 stars took a long time for people, and it involves like figuring the game out, how it worked, figuring out the quirks and how to defeat the enemies. And so for most people, when they finally got to that last Bowser battle and they had 70 stars and they defeated him, it was like, I've spent hours working on this, and it's like, and everyone's been in that place for the first time they beat the game. But then people discovered ways to skip certain things that the programmers made it. They thought they made it flawless, and they said, you have to go through this path, then you have to go through this path. Well, people found shortcuts by exploiting the game's mechanics and jumping, like finding ways to jump off the wall and go up higher than you're supposed to, or skipping a cutscene. And so, what is the minimum amount of stars you can get to beat the game?
Using the glitches,
Yes.
0.
So you can beat the game with 0 stars, which is the entire point of the game, which is ludicrous when you think about it. And people probably spent, again, hours upon hours. What is your personal record, Daniel?
My personal record is pretty bad. Actually, I haven't timed myself this year. I think it was over a year ago was the last time I timed myself. It was about 25 minutes, something.
5 minutes. And Daniel's saying that's bad. To put things in perspective, people spend hours beating this game, and he can beat it in we said 25 minutes.
Yes, I've gone faster now, but I need to time myself again. But yeah,
When I remember, it was like 20 minutes because you showed it to me, and the whole time my mind was blown. Like he was doing the coolest things, and he's saying, oh, it's not a big deal. I see speedrunners do it in half the time or whatever, and he's just doing amazing stuff. So if you want a good time, you want a magic trick, hang out with Daniel and have him show you beating Super Mario 64 as fast.
That's a really good term you use there, a little magic trick. It is, it's kind of a hobby for people, kind of a cool magic trick to show off to their friends and stuff like that. And it's really fun to play these games that maybe you've grown up playing or things like that, and try something new with them, try a new category, a new goal to set for yourself. And I think that's why the speedrunning community has so much fun with these games. It really is an enjoyment, a really good hobby, a good experience. So yeah.
Awesome. Now quickly go through some of the other games that you already speedrun or that you're planning on speedrunning, and then we'll move on to the other material.
All right. Well, actually, I probably should look up my own list of what I have here, so I know exactly what I'm looking at. But let me think. I've done Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed. That was a game I really got into when it came out, and I had a world record in that. But man, there's some really good players who are still. There's a very active community for that game still, and some really nice players that I sometimes join in playing that have play the game more competitively than I ever will. But that's been a fun game. There was a free game on Steam. You have to win the game. That's the name of the game. It's called You Have to Win the Game, and I got a pretty good time in that. And this YOLO mode, it's called basically it's this category where you can't die once, and you beat the game. And let's see, what else do I have? Jet Car Stunts, kind of a cheaper game on Steam. I have a few world records in that, but that's kind of just a fun game I was playing casually, and it really had some interesting racing mechanics in that. So if you haven't seen that game, go ahead and check that out. That's a lot of fun. Future projects. I'm looking at just kind of challenging myself in a game called Wind Waker, Zelda, The Legend of Zelda, The Wind Waker for GameCube. That's going to be a fun one to do. I've been working on the glitches for that, and now I have to learn the actual route, actually put a speedrun together. Some other ones would be, let's see, maybe Diddy Kong Racing. I did a couple practice runs of that recently. And again, over ambitious here with all the games I want to learn, but let's see. There's the classic Ocarina of Time. Everybody wants to run that game. And Super Mario Sunshine is another fun one I'm looking forward to. And I could keep going on as well, but that's the main goals that I've been working on and projects I've been having fun with, just kind of casually speedrunning. So yeah.
Nice. And when you speedrun a game, like you get to know the game so well. You get to know it backwards and forwards and sideways and every single quirk about the game because you've been studying it and looking at its routes and looking at its mechanics. And so give us one example. And actually, if you can't think of one, I might suggest one. Give us one example of just a ridiculous mechanic that is completely abused and in one of the games.
Let's see. Well, off the top of my head, well, we could going back to let's take Super Mario 64 for example. It's not necessarily a mechanic that's used. Well, it depends what category. So if you're trying to beat the game with 0 stars, right? There's this one glitch that they call backwards long jumps. And what you're doing is you're jumping in such a way. This is a complicated one. I'm trying to see how to explain this one. It can get pretty complicated.
Well, first explain, so when you're Mario in this game, you can perform certain actions like jumping or
yeah.
And one of the moves is a long jump, which involves holding a button down and jumping forward. And it's called a long jump because you can go over larger gaps. But now with that in mind, explain sort of what happens when you mess with it.
Well, it's kind of this long forward jump where Mario kind of just throws himself forward. Now, if you were to hold backwards with that, try to make Mario go backwards while jumping using that same jump. If you were to do it, let's say, against like a set of stairs, what he does, instead of jumping forwards, he'll kind of jump backwards into the next step, into the next stair. And it kind of, in short, and kind of the summary of it is that it cancels, when he hits that next stair, it cancels his jump. So he's standing up again, but then he can do another long jump backwards, and he keeps jumping backwards up these steps. It's just backwards to where he's going backwards so fast that it catapults him like through a wall, for example. He's going so fast that he might start going through things. He might start just going right through walls and stuff like that. And that's how these runners are able to get past certain barriers, certain doors that you're not supposed to go through yet. So that's kind of the short, summarized, slightly inaccurate version, but that's kind of the gist of it if you want a shorter explanation.
Yeah, and it's hilarious. Like watching these speedrunners completely manipulate and change things. Like that was an oversight by the programmers. Like they didn't know that if people held backwards while they did the forward long jump and they landed on a stair above where they were initially, that would somehow project like the momentum backwards. Like they programmed that into the game, but they didn't really realize it when they did it. So anyway, really fun, fascinating community. Even if you're not a gamer, just watch a game, like someone speedrun a game. It'll probably make you laugh or really impress you or surprise you. You'll be surprised, I think. So now it's time for the Ask David V section of the show. I ask questions and you answer them. Answer to the last episode's question was actually a poll, and I'm gonna pull that up. All right. Well, now we get this long pause because I forgot to get the poll ready.
It's poll time. It's poll time. Here we go. It's poll time.
Yeah. Okay. The results are in. The question was, when is the best time to consume bacon? We got 49 votes. 78% of you said every single meal. 20% of you said morning, 2% of you said midday, and absolutely none of you said evening. So it's very, very clear that bacon is a well-loved food. And notice that never was not one of the options. Maybe I should have thrown out evening and thrown in never to see how many people don't like bacon. It's probably a staunch minority of you. So today's question of the episode is, what is your favorite video game? Maybe it's something you played when you were a kid. Maybe it's something you played now. So send me a tweet with the hashtag AskDavidV with your answer. Or, of course, you can go to beyondtweeting.com/contact and write one in. Daniel, I see you getting really intense and scared. You know you have to answer.
Does it have to be one game? I could tell you what my favorite video game today, right now, at this very moment is, but it's not going to be the same game that it will be tomorrow.
That's all right.
I'm gonna say Star Fox 64. That had it was quite the experience for me when it came out. It had these fully voiced characters. Whether the voice acting was good or not, that's a whole nother issue. But it's definitely something that stuck with me. All the things in the game, whether it's the voice acting or in the way that you could play the game differently each time. You could go take different routes. You could visit different planets. You could even get a different secret ending. And each time you learn more about the characters. You learn more about the story as you go. And just all around, I love the gameplay. It's a super fun game. I really like the mechanics of how the R-Wings, the ships control. And I never get tired of playing it. So that would be my favorite game.
That's awesome, Daniel. I have to agree with you. Star Fox 64 was one of my favorite games for sure. So, especially growing up with it, it was, man, I envy the next generation just because they're not going to get that in the same way we did. So now it's our jobs when we're adults and we have kids to buy them Star Fox 64 on their 3DSs and make sure they play it because the 3DS will be antiquated by then. But anyway, so now the social network of the day is going to be Twitch. Now, Twitch, as we have been explaining this episode, is a game streaming website where I would say live streaming, but it's more curtailed to live streaming games in particular. And like Daniel said, it's actually a really cool community, and there's really interesting people that are on there. Go ahead and browse some games on Twitch, and you'll probably find someone you like. You'll probably find a game that you like, and you'll find depending on how many people are watching, a pretty active chat of people going on too. So there's on the web, it is twitch.tv. On iOS, Android, it's an application, and on Windows, I recommend 8Stream, which is a great third-party client for Twitch for Windows devices. Now, let's take a trip to the app graveyard.
Oh boy.
Yeah, these are the applications that are no longer with us. And today's dearly departed application is, I actually forgot to write that.
It's the one that everyone forgot. Oh boy.
It's so departed and so dead. Its gravestone is blank. That's how forgotten it is.
Oh no.
That's really depressing. Let's see. Can you think of a gaming related one that's been sunsetted?
I can't.
No, I'm going to project in the future and say post-production. I'm just going to be shaking my head while I edit this.
Well, we could say rip Justin TV.
Oh, yeah, Justin TV, because that's originally what Twitch was, right?
Yeah. Which they retired that, and the parent company decided to retire Justin TV just to focus on Twitch now. Which Justin TV originally was a site where it was for just everything. You could stream anything onto there, not just games. They actually had a separate games category on Justin TV, and you could just stream whatever, whether it's your daily life or vlogs or anything. And but then the gaming portion of it, the Twitch portion of it, got so popular that they created the site Twitch TV and retired eventually retired Justin TV. So
Okay, so Justin TV was comparable to Ustream or
yes, yes.
something like that. Okay, cool, interesting. I didn't realize that. Um, Now it is time for immature impersonations. Maybe they're good, maybe they're bad, but they're certainly immature. Now I'm going to do several because this is the gaming episode. So I want to do one of the ones I want to do is Banjo Kazooie. I'm not saying, or Banjo, I should say, from Banjo Kazooie. And I'm not saying it's a good one, but it's just fun to sound like a hick. So here goes nothing. Whoa! I'm Banjo.
You know
Okay.
what? The banjo one was pretty good, actually. That was pretty, yeah. Oh, banjo.
That's of course from Diddy Kong Racing, and then
Yeah.
he doesn't. I don't think he actually says that in Banjo Kazooie, but
No, I don't think so.
there's that, and then there's it's a me. I'm the Mario. Welcome to my game. And then what's another one like that I could probably do?
Kazooie?
Oh, Kazooie. Oh yeah.
I can't do that.
Yeah.
Yours was closer.
Let's see. There's got to be another one that I'm just because I did Sonic a few episodes ago. Of course, I could do Shadow because Shadow's voice is creepy.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I had another one in mind. I just wrote in the notes: Banjo, Mario. Okay.
Do barrel roll. Open the hatches. Yeah.
The hatches are open.
The hatches are open. Bulldog unit. Don't let anything through. Or Husky unit.
Star Fox ones. Star Fox ones could go on forever.
Oh,
hey,
boy.
Einstein, I'm on your side.
Oh my gosh, this would take several hours.
It would take several episodes of just impersonations to get through all of them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna go look at my list real quick and make sure there's not one that I'm missing.
Check your G diffuser system. I can't do Falcon. Trying to think of some other ones.
Slippy here. I'm okay.
Oh, whoa. Do that again.
Slippy here. I'm okay.
Okay. It was funny because of on the Google Hangout, your voice came in kind of, distorted at first, and it actually matched it really well when it sounded really close when it came in like that.
Wow. Okay. Well, anyway, that's good. I'll pick something from this when I edit this. All right. That's just about all the time we have for this episode of the Beyond Tweeting podcast. Thank you so much for listening, watching, sharing, downloading, and subscribing. For all things Beyond Tweeting, visit beyondtweeting.com. To subscribe, search Beyond Tweeting in your favorite podcast application or visit beyondtweeting.com/subscribe. In fact, if you have a Windows device, open the podcast app and search Beyond Tweeting, all one word, and you will find and can subscribe to this podcast. And I've also made a live tile for the Microsoft Band, which is one of the options under subscribe page. So you can get a tile on your Microsoft Band that will update you when a new episode comes out. Pretty awesome. If a show is going on live, which it is, you can watch it at beyondtweeting.com/live. Now we are here. And now it is time for the anticlimactic line. Daniel, what do you have for us?
Let's see. Only if it's freshly cut chili asparagus.